deep gratitude, we shall celebrate the presence of Bhagwan while we sing this powerful mantra that he should give. Once again, this great chance of singing his name this evening is a great blessing. As we see the celebrations of Bhagwan's Jayanti and Aradhana at the ashram, the devotees who have been coming year after year after year would have seen the way we worship Bhagwan in different ways. Bhagwan had often declared that Nama was his one eye and Vedas the other. So on these special function days, there would be Vedic puja going on with a homa and Rudrabhishekam and a very special puja that day that people have seen the face of Bhagwan on the linga, the samadhi. And again, in the same place a few feet away, there is the Murti of Bhagwan installed by himself, where people go round and round Bhagwan's Murti, singing his name right from morning 6 o'clock up to 6 in the evening. 12 hours of celebration, Nama celebration, the Nama worship of the form of Bhagwan. Then from 10 o'clock there would be bhajans, songs on Bhagwan, sung by different groups of people from different centers. This again, worshipping Bhagwan with praises of Bhagwan in the songs. And then the other celebration is sharing of experiences, the Kripa Samudram, we say the ocean of grace, the drops of grace, the gifts of grace experienced by people. The ananda of sharing. This is another worship of Bhagwan, remembering, reliving the experiences of devotees together. Again we see the rise of a huge Shakti. And in the evening, we have either a drama or some Carnatic music program. Bhagwan would often say that Samaveda, the Carnatic music, has developed from Samaveda and it should be protected just as the Vedas. So it's one worship of the divine with Carnatic music or with the dance drama from the Ramayana or other Puranas. And there would be speeches also, speeches by special people on Bhagwan, the divine in general. These are all different ways of celebrating the presence of Bhagwan, celebrating the grace of Bhagwan which flows endlessly towards the devotees. Now, as Bhagwan declared that Nama was his one eye and the Vedas the other, we shall see one or two incidents where how Bhagwan had displayed his reverence towards the Vedic Pandits and the Veda Parayana. Once, Srimati Tilakavati Rajashekar, her husband Dr. Rajashekar, their son Kumaravel, from Madurai, they had come to visit Bhagwan after some happy time together. They were going to leave. They had come to Sanadi Street house and Bhagwan had given them prasad. I was going to leave them and suddenly Bhagwan got up and said, "This beggar would take you all to Arunachaleshwara Mandir and leave you there." So he was walking very fast in the front and these people ran with him. And when they came to the entrance of the temple, Tilakavati, as is the habit with people, generally the devotees of any temple, she would not step on the step there, the white step at the entrance. Instead, she crossed it without putting her foot there. Bhagwan saw it and exclaimed, "Oh, that's a way." And then he imitated Tilakavati. He would not step on this wide step, the entrance step. Instead, he crossed it without touching. And then when they went near the shrine, Tilakavati sat there with closed eyes. And Bhagwan, there was once again an exclamation from Bhagwan, "Oh!" He also sat, he imitated her, he sat there with closed eyes. It was a very happy occasion for all of them. Happily together they pushed off. Now they came to the shrine of the deities of the planets, the sun and the planets, the 9 celestial deities. And Tilakavati, Dr. Rajashekar, Kumaravel, they started to go round. It's pradakshina in worship of the deities. Because these planets, they rule the lives of people. Just as they move as celestial bodies in the sky, their movement can very well affect the lives of people on the earth. Bhagwan used to say that everything in this universe is connected with everything else. There's a link. He often used to quote this, that when somebody trampled upon a blade of grass, the distant star would tremble. Such is the link. It's all one life, one being, connected with each other. So these planets, they have to be propitiated. And so people used to go around. They would light a lamp, a mud lamp, go around, which is what these people also did. And Bhagwan, there was another exclamation from Bhagwan, "Oh!" And then he went round just like them. A very delightful show of appreciation. After that, he took them all to the outer corridor. Here, Bhagwan used to say something. You know that the pradakshina, the circumambulation around the mountain, he would say if you go 7 times round the shrine of Arunachaleshwara in the outer corridor, the outermost corridor, which includes the Sthala Vriksha, the holy tree of the holy place, a special holy tree allotted to that particular shrine. So he would say to the devotees, if you cannot go round the mountain, you could go round the outer corridor of Arunachaleshwara Mandir 7 times. And Arunachaleshwara would accept it as Giri Pradakshina. And of course, there were times, the rare few times, to the rare few people, that he would say, okay, if you cannot go round the mountain, you can go round this beggar 3 times, that will do. But that's a rare few times for a rare few people. So he just took them along. They went round the holy tree. So he also went with them with another exclamation, oh. And after that, they turned and saw. There's a higher platform, the same corridor, on the other side. Bhagwan saw a Vedic Pandit seated there, an old Vedic Pandit, chanting the Veda mantras. And there were many students, the celebrate students, sitting before him, repeating the Veda mantras. It was a class going on. And immediately Bhagwan went near. He very keenly listened to those Veda mantras. Like we say, we have an expression in Tamil, you sharpen your ears to hear without missing anything, which he literally did. And after some time, he prostrated unexpectedly. He prostrated, a complete prostration, in front of those Vedic Pandit and those students of Vedas. The Vedic Pandit, the old Vedic Pandit, immediately got up. He was trembling. He was disturbed. He said, Swami, what are you doing? You are God yourself. Why would you prostrate to me? With folded hands, he was pleading with Bhagwan, please don't do this. You are God, you are Arunachaleshwara himself. How can you do this to me? He was very agitated, but Bhagwan smiled. 1 minute he would prostrate, the next minute he would bless people. As far as he was concerned, I suppose there was no difference, both were only blessings. Of course, he was prostrating to the Vedas, the Veda mantras. And then he put his hand into his pocket, the deep pockets of his kurta, the shirt, and brought out some rupees, handed them over to the Vedic Pandit as dakshina. Dakshina means as an offering to the Vedic Pandit for reciting the Vedas. This is a tradition. And then, when he said, you are Arunachaleshwara yourself, Bhagwan smiled very beautifully and then raised his hand to point out the sky as though to say, he is there, that I am nothing, I am a beggar. And then with a smile, the beatific smile on his face, he continued radiantly, and these people followed him to one corner place of the same corridor. And then he was seated. He seated these people also. And then he pointed to the peak of Arunachala mountain and said, look at that. That is where Arunachaleshwara, Shri Arunagiri Siddha, the legend, as per the legend, Shri Arunagiri Siddha, Arunachaleshwara, would sit there as Dakshinamurti. There is a legendary banyan tree up there, not visible to the ordinary people. A subtle banyan tree under which the subtle presence of Dakshinamurti with his disciples. So he pointed to that. He said, look. And then he turned towards Tilakavati. He said, Tilakavati, will you please narrate one of the Leelas of Sundareshwara? He would often say to Tilakavati that Sundareshwara is none other than himself. This beggar lives in Madurai as Sundareshwara. He resides in the Meenakshi temple as Sundareshwara. And all the Leelas of Sundareshwara are this beggar's Leelas. Now, he said, narrate one of them. 64 Leela, out of which she started, because she had just come from, she had just had the darshan of the recital of the Vedic Pandit and Bhagwan's prostration before them. So she chose a very suitable Leela from that. She said, there was once a Kulabhushana Pandya, a king was ruling this temple city, Madurai. He was a very good devotee of Shiva, Lord Shiva, very devoted to Lord Shiva. But he made one mistake. He did not give the due respect to the Brahmins of the place, the Vedic Pandits. He did not protect them, nor did he protect the Vedas. Not only that, he used to humiliate them. He would ill-treat them, because of which the Vedic Pandits and the Vedas began to suffer. This is a very, very bad adharma in the eyes of God, because the Vedas are his breath. And Sundareshwara, with the result, whenever this happens, when the Vedas are not well protected, the Vedic Pandits are humiliated, and they are not looked after well, then the whole nature would react to that violently, in some way or the other. Like we had tsunami, we had many other things happening. From time to time this happens, this scene gets repeated, and then the fury of the nature expresses itself in different ways. And one of them was, the gods stopped the rain. There was drought everywhere. With the result, the farmers suffered, and there was not enough grain. So people began to suffer. And that doesn't speak well of the king who rules them, because he's not following dharma. When adharma takes place, then this happens, the fury of the nature. So when the whole city, when the whole kingdom was suffering so much, and still the king did not learn his lesson, he continued his ill treatment of the Vedic Pandits and the Vedas. But he was also a Shiva Bhakta, devoted to Shiva. So how could Shiva tolerate a Bhakta of his behaving like this in an adharmic way? So one day, Lord Sundareshwara, Shiva, appeared in the dream of Kulabhushana Pandya and said, "My dear son, what are you doing? Don't you know that the Vedas are my seat? They are my asana, they are my seat. They are my padakas, they are my sandals. They are my mount. They are the ornaments around my wrist. They are my clothes round my waist. They are my very eyes. The Vedas, the Veda mantras are my very language. And they are my very form. This is the truth. My son, you have not treated them with respect. You have not protected the Vedas. And that is why your whole kingdom is in trouble. Now everybody is suffering because of your attitude, this arrogant attitude. The Brahmins who conduct sacrifices with their mind fixed on me for the removal of all evils of this dark age, Kali Yuga. Only they can invite the bounteous rain. The sacrifices they make, the mantras they recite, with their mind fixed on me, only this can bring bounteous rain. And since they are not being looked after well, they are being humiliated. Now you see the rain has stopped. Adharma is prevailing. So if you change your attitude, if you correct your attitude towards these Brahmins, towards these Vedas, then once again your kingdom will come back to its bounteous state. And of course then the Kulabhushana Pandya, a great Bhakta, it was just a mistake, somehow or the other this happened, his attitude changed, but now after Sundareshwara himself appeared and said, his whole attitude, his arrogance disappeared. Immediately he went to the Brahmins, he prostrated before them, he provided everything that was needed for the sacrifices, the homas, the yagnas they had to conduct. And they were well respected, and then the whole kingdom thrived, flourished in every aspect. So Bhagavan was very happy to listen to the story. It's no wonder, it is he who inspired her to say this. By his own demonstration, his own veneration for the Vedic Pandit and the recital of Vedas. I read something about a similar yagna conducted in Chennai soon after the Samadhi of Bhagavan. The Chennai devotees had gone for darshan of Shri Shri Muralidhara Swamiji. When he asked them what were they going to do for the celebration of Jayanti in Chennai, then it struck Hari Om Ramaswamy to arrange for a yagna. So he just wrote down whatever he wanted to do, the yagna and the Vedic Pandits, and a place for that, and of course money. But they did not have any money. But then he said, the minute we decided to do all this, and showed it to Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, Bhagwan began to give everything that was needed. The Shirdi Sai Baba temple came forward to give the ground, a big ground, huge ground, adjacent to the temple for the conduct of the celebration of Jayanti. And then he heard about some Vedic Pandits in Ambattur on Chandramauli Shraudihal. So he approached and asked for this Rudrayagna, Rudrabhishekam. Shri Chandramauli Shraudihal was very happy to do it for him. He said, don't worry about not having any funds. We shall see to it. We will do it for Swami. I will make all the arrangements, not to worry about it. He assured, and true to his word, on the day of Jayanti, he came with 40 Vedic Pandits. They needed so many for this Ekadasa Rudra. And then what? It was a grand celebration. The celebration was going on, the homas, the chanting of the recital of the Veda mantras. That was happening on one side of the ground, and opposite to that, the devotees, some 300 devotees gathered, and they went round the huge picture of Bhagwan from morning till evening, chanting his name, the Nama worship. On the one side it was Vedic worship, the same hall, the same place, there was this Nama worship going on. And after the Yagna was over, about 1 o'clock, 1:30, Hari Om Ramaswamy and the devotees together, they wanted to honor the Vedic Pandits with a purse, with an offering of money. So when they were getting ready, Chandramauli Shraudihal called them and said, they had a plate for offering the money, and he would not take the money. He said, wait. And then he put some 500 rupees, and another person put 300, 200. And within minutes, all those Vedic Pandits, 40 of them, they gave nearly 10,000 rupees. And they refused the offering from him, the offering of money from the devotees, saying, Shri Chandramauli Shraudihal said that he was listening to the Nama chanting before the Yagna and after, and he was absolutely overwhelmed. His lips were also chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama. And he said, there is only one mouth, but there are 2 ears. So he was listening to the Nama chanting, the charming Nama chanting. So with folded hands he said, it is our offering to Yogi Ramsuratkumar Swami. Just see, once you decide to do something for Bhagwan, something that is very dear to his heart, how help arrives in different ways to make it grand, to make it perfect. Once again proving that Veda is the other eye. Shri Hari Om Ramaswamy says, along with this, the next year they had arranged for Nama chanting in one Bhakta by name Lakshmi Narayan. So the Nama chanting was going on in his house, and Lakshmi Narayan's wife was cooking for everybody, and she fed them sumptuously, very nicely, serving all the devotees with devotion and love. But in 6 months, when they were conducting the same Nama chanting in some other house, and Lakshmi Narayan was with them, he received the news that his wife, the one who cooked and looked after them previously, had fallen down and there was blood clot. She was in coma. What a shock to everybody. And then Hari Om Ramaswamy assured Lakshmi Narayan, we would make it, Bhagwan would make it all right by our Nama Sankirtan. And then some of those people would go to Lakshmi Narayan's house every day. They would sit there and do the Nama Sankirtan, praying to Bhagwan to cure her. It took a few months, but just before their wedding day, Lakshmi Narayan's wedding day, the previous day, by the glory of the Nama Sankirtan, she opened her eyes and looked around. Consciousness came back to her. And slowly she recovered. By the glory of the Nama of Bhagwan. So you see, the recital of Nama, the recital of Veda mantras, both are very, very dear to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan enjoys them. And there is a huge blessing coming from him when we do something which is very dear to his heart. All the bhaktas know that. And we have done Nama Sankirtan today, this precious chance given to us for chanting his name for 1 hour. We had our dip in the Nama, the river of Nama Sankirtan, and we were sanctified by that. It's a holy bath in the river of Nama Sankirtan. So with deep gratitude, we shall submit, we shall offer our today's prayer at his feet, at the lotus feet of Bhagwan, who is here